G'day, and welcome to Tartarian Truthers with our brand new segment we are calling Timeless Truth Seekers Present. So we decided to start this new segment because we have some of the most amazing friends, amazing like-minded and free-thinking ones, and they all have their own perspective and take on Australian history. Most of them have their own specialty and focus, and I truly believe that we as a community, truth-seeking community, hold a piece of the puzzle we're trying to put back together. So the plan is every month we'll feature one guest to showcase their favourite topic, and we'll have panel friends just to chit-chat and, provide some commentary. Before I go ahead and introduce our timeless truth seekers, I just wanted to say that unfortunately, Casey, she couldn't make it today. Something came up, but she did send a message to tell us to have fun and also wish us luck on our very first go at this live, right? So let's go. And Timmy, did you have something to say?
Yeah, Casey, look, you can't touch the screen. You've missed out again.
She's missed out. She just keeps missing out. I tell you what. Okay, so one of the best things is we've all met in person in Manly and separate occasions, some of us, but Lisa and I have definitely met a couple of times now, and it's so lovely to be with like-minded people. It's so comfortable walking around, just talking, chit-chatting. There's no judgment. We basically can say whatever we want, and everyone just sort of listens and takes it in. And these three beautiful friends are here. And first up, I'd like to introduce an amazing writer, teller, seeker of truth with a heart of gold, our gracious and epic theorist, Tartarian tale mate, Lisa.
Hi, Jojo. Hi, everyone.
Is she frozen? Did you freeze? Oh, hello. I thought you froze. It's okay. I can cut it out.
Hi. I missed part of your introduction, but thank you for welcoming me along today. It's great to be here. Hi, everyone.
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello again, Lisa.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Tim. I'm getting a bit of feedback, a bit of a delay, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll see how we go. This man needs no introduction. Master drummer, truckie, photographer, lover of mechanics and old world architecture, our beloved bearded mate, Timothy.
Daniel could have nearly taken that title as well.
I know, he could have too. He's a drummer too, is he?
Yeah.
No. I muck around on them, but yeah, nah.
And you know what? Lucky for us, we have our amazing mate, Dan, who is not only a photographer and videographer, he's a truckie with that specialises in trains, railways, roads, and maps, some of my favourite topics. Dan, thank you so much for coming and accepting and willing to be our first presenter. Welcome.
No worries at all. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Okay, so what was I going to say now? Okay, so today what we're going to be looking at is a 1943, and of course this happens every single time too, guys. Round two. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at a 1943 map of Sydney on 6 Maps, which is an Australian government website that Dan's been looking at for quite some time now. It's really a very detailed map. And the best part about it is it has an overlay of today. So you can see it's like a comparison of 1943 to today of Sydney, which is really quite fascinating. We'll all get an opportunity to pick a site that we want to look at. But for now, let's hand it over to Dan.
Okay, so this is 6 Maps website, which is an Australian government website, as far as I know. And you can basically find it by just going to a search engine and typing in the word 6 Maps. And it will take you to the site, which the very first time you go into it, it basically gives you just this map of New South Wales. But the thing that I like the most about this 6-map site is, oops, I've gone too far. Where's Sydney? There it is that you can go up here to, if you guys can see my mouse at all, you can see it moving. Yep. So it has an overlay of 1943. I'm pretty sure it's to do with the war. They did a whole lot of aerial photography during World War II, and I guess in case Sydney got decimated by some bombing or anything like that. So yeah, so it's got a very extensive and even Bathurst too for some reason. But yeah,
how far west does it go out to?
It concentrates here over the Blue Mountains, just where the Great Western Highway. So it goes as far as Mount Victoria to the west, and it just concentrates on the ribbon of development where the railway and the Great Western Highway crosses the mountains. And it's got Penrith, which I'll come back to for one of my points. And yeah, it goes as far south as Waterfall down here, Cronulla off to the right down here, and then basically all of most of Sydney. It cuts it off sort of up, sort of from Narrabeen onwards, and out here you can sort of go out as far as Castle Hill out this way. But it's very, very interesting, and I spend hours and hours looking at this. And one of the fun things you can do is, I'll start here over the CBD, because okay, so basically I've picked 5 main points that topics to do with this that I want to share with you guys. So the first one is Sydney City CBD and the surrounds. So here is 1943 Sydney, and you can zoom in a fair way. That's about as far as it will let me zoom, I think. There is there's
Hyde Park.
No, that's the botanical gardens with the government house. So I think that is about as close as it will let me go. If I go in one more, it wipes out. Yep, there it is. So that's as far as I can go. But here's Circular Quay. I'll just sort of zoom out a bit to give you a bit of a better idea. So there's no Cahill Expressway here yet, but you'll notice around the primary school at, I think it's Fort Street Primary, I'm not too sure, the big cutting that takes you from the Cahill Expressway onto the Sydney Harbour Bridge has already been excavated. So that's before even the Cahill Expressway, which is not on here. I'll try not to move it around too quickly, sorry. But yeah, so the Sydney CBD, you've got the Harbour Bridge, and then North Sydney, Milsons Point, and all the suburbs on the north side there, Neutral Bay, Cremorne. Yeah, so Sydney City CBD and surrounds. All of the wharfs of Darling Harbour here, you can see. The Pyrmont Bridge when it carried traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, goods railway line with all the cuttings and stuff through Pyrmont. Oh yes, so I should mention also that with the base maps here, to find the 1943 imagery, you click base maps, and down the bottom here, if you can see where my mouse is, it says looking for 1943 or other imagery. So you click that, and a list of options come up, but obviously I've already clicked the 1943 one because I was already looking at it. So you click that, and then you've got a comparison between New South Wales imagery and the 1943 imagery. And you've got a slider on the right here. So look what happens when I slide that to the top. It takes you to current day.
Wow.
So this is Pyrmont, and look, you got Darling Harbour, which is all pedestrian and shops and shopping malls.
Yes.
And so yeah, so I do this a lot. I pick a spot, and then I transparency between yeah, current day and 1943.
Yeah, and you can just see the development, just how much is. Yeah.
That's right, and especially with all the old industry and stuff that Sydney had, all around the docks, and all around Ultimo and Pyrmont. There was all these factories and power stations. You've got the White Bay Power Station there, which it's still here, hasn't been pulled down. but yeah, this is just a comparison basically between between the two, and you can do that. I'll go back out to here. Anywhere where this is grey over Sydney, you can see, like here, this is the old brick pits at St. Peter's, which is now Sydney
Covered
Park.
up.
Yeah, it's Sydney Park basically. But
Wow.
that's another point I'm going to be raising in one of my later points to do with all the brick pits and stuff like that. So yeah, basically, so you've got Sydney CBD. Obviously the north part of the city is, you can see, I know a lot of the old buildings, especially on Bridge Street. You've got the Lands Department building here, which is where would that be? Here. So Lands Department, I've got a photo of it. Australia Day a couple of years ago, I went into the city and I got a few photos of these buildings. I think this is it here.
That looks like Lands Department.
That's the Lands Department here, and you
Right.
can see
It's
the
got the big like clock tower and everything in the middle of it.
yes, this clock tower here.
Hmm.
So it's the Lands Department building that I was showing. Pretty much, it's got mud flooded windows and everything. It's crazy old.
And they're doing a lot of restoration to that building at the moment, which is interesting because the building, as I said to Daniel yesterday, has never ever been out of the government's hands since Australia was apparently settled in the 1700s.
I find interesting about it is they're keeping the outer facade, and basically the interior is being completely renovated or renovated, however you want to think of it, and it's basically going to be like a high class hotel, I think.
Oh
no, what a shame.
Yeah, but the outside, the facade is still being kept, which is good, and it still shows the mud flood windows, of course. Which are questionable. So but yeah, there's plenty of other buildings in the CBD just like it, but that's just one I picked because I like that building and it's fun to walk around. So yeah, my next point to do with these 1943 aerials is the sheer amount of development. The further west you go into the suburbs, so you've got the sprawl of development and the amount of brick pits that you can find. You can just pick anywhere on this map, zoom in, and you see brick pits. There's a brick pit there, another one there. These are out between Canterbury and Enfield. It's the old railway workshops at Enfield, which are now being reused as a container depot, I think. So yeah, you've got all these brick pits everywhere. There's more up here. This is round 5 dock, I think. Big one there, all close to one another. Another one out here, and of course the big one up at Homebush, near the stadium, Homebush Bay. You've got the brick pit, which has that big walkway around it.
Wow. Yes.
So you've got the brick pit at Homebush where you can walk around on this circle sort of walking viewing platform. But yeah, no, so it shows it in 1943 as well. It's obviously a little bit smaller back then, but this is one of the brick pits that still sort of kept going and stayed open, whereas the other ones were very sort of early. And I'll go back to down here again because where are they? So I picked these two for example. So when you go to when you scroll back up here, you can see that this one's a playing field now, and this one's a recreational reserve, and there's one of those water towers that are on the pillars as well. So yeah,
I keep thinking about like golf courses and reservoirs and our natural reserves, and I start to wonder, they look a bit artificial, right? And now when you look at this overlay, they just sort of covered everything up. So it makes you really think like, gosh, if they can do that. That was 1943, and within these short few decades, it's covered up. We've got development all throughout, housing, just everything. And Yeah, I definitely want to look at some cemeteries. So when we get to that point, I'll let you keep going.
Definitely.
So yeah, with this brick pit, for example, there's a big hole in the ground here, but they've filled it back in with something.
Yes.
I'm not sure what, but it's flat again behind the houses.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is just one of like heaps. I'll go to randomly another one, which is, say, this one down here, for example. When you go and look today, it's completely covered over by a factory.
Wow.
So you can't even tell that it was even there. Look at that.
Yep.
So yeah, so all the brick pits everywhere, and just the sheer amount of when the further west you go, say for example around Yaguna. So Yaguna was sort of, I'm thinking sort of the 1950s and 60s. It really sort of didn't start to get built out until that time. But you have all of the layouts of the streets here. I mean, Yaguna is known for its half circle streets.
Yes.
And when you go to today, I mean, you can see that it's just completely built out. But back then, you know, like look at these 4 houses, for example. They're just 4 random houses in a little houses in a row. They're just there.
But you can see the footprint of all the roads already identified.
All the roads they've been formed. They've been like earthworks have been done to form these streets. They might not be like bitumen or sealed, but they're there. They could be the main ones. But look here at these 4 houses, and look at everything else around it.
Wow.
So that's just an example. That's Yaguna. It's got those.
Just makes you wonder how long those roads were there if it's already
Exactly.
1940s.
Exactly. And then who built them all? I mean, the vast extensiveness of the road network. There is a couple of roads that are being built that I can find, which is Henry Lawson Drive, which is a main road in the southwest of Sydney. You can see it being constructed here. It's a massive cutting. You can see how
it's there, yeah.
I think that's Frying Pan Creek. I'm not sure, but it keeps going, and then there's more earthworks over here. So yeah, when you look at that on today, it's like a main road, and then you've got like Alfred's Point Road, which runs north and south now through there. But so back in 1943, this was being constructed, but it looks like it's being constructed, but they might have like halted construction for some reason, probably like for the war, who knows?
Or maybe it was already there and that's just like remnants of.
Possibly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Look at that.
Possibly, yeah. But there's also another one on the northern beaches. I think it's the northern beaches. I'm not sure what you'd class it as, but when Wakehurst Parkway was being constructed, so around the top of Narrabeen Lake here, Lisa, you would know pretty well. So yeah, you've got Wakehurst Parkway is being constructed. And you can see here there's earthworks and a bridge that's yet to be completed. And this road goes all the way around to the top of French's Forest. So yeah, you can see the earthworks for that. But that's about the only 2 roads that I can see being built. Everything else is here.
Yep.
And like when you see how much, like how the sprawl of the development with not many houses. I mean, just look at that. There's just streets everywhere, and not many houses.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
Not really. And then when you consider today, like in today's times, where, for example, like here's Austral, for example.
That's a brand new town, isn't it?
Austral is like a new, it's sort of rural area that's becoming sort of getting turned into like a housing suburb. But the way they do it now is they just got little pockets of a little road here and there, and nothing sort of links up. It's all just like sporadic.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've got the new railway line that goes out there to Leppington. But just nothing like what you see on that 1943 aerial there. So
can you show us the 1943 of that one right there? I just want to see.
I don't think it goes out that far. I will try.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So it won't go that far. It goes to, this is Liverpool.
Okay.
So it goes as far as Liverpool, and yeah, I can't go out to where Austral is.
Okay.
But there's not really too many places on this 43 map that are having like new development. Maybe up around Castle Hill would be good. Here we go. So this is around. This is Windsor Road, Parkley. Shows a little. I don't know why it shows like this part, but it won't show. You know, you got Castle Hill here, and then you've got like Parkley and Stanhope Gardens here. So yeah, I mean Stanhope Gardens and Parkley have sort of been established suburbs for, you know, the last 10, 20, 30 years now. So it's not really, you can't really sort of see, but when you go out the back of Kellyville here, again, look, you've got these little random pockets of houses. It's just not the extent of what it was, what they're showing down here, you know. So yeah, that was another point, the brick pits and the sprawl of the development. So I know you mentioned one of the cemeteries before, so another point I've got is La Perouse and the eastern suburbs, coast and surrounds. So La Perouse, you all know where that is. So it's basically the end of Anzac Parade in the southeastern part of Sydney. But when you zoom in here on the 1943 aerials, you can sort of see like a weird faint outline of what it looks like.
Yes.
Very Star Fortish. Now we all know about Star Forts, so I found this extremely interesting when I saw
what a great find, Dan.
Yeah, and so when you look at it today, I mean it's more sort of like you can't tell at all. That those. And then that one little, there's like this weird little castle turret that just on its own, but it's like and this is 1943. Even then, it was all like pretty barren and stuff. But who knows what could have been there before, if anything. And I find it interesting that it's got a French name as well. And then you have this little island here, which
Star
is
Fortish as well, isn't it?
A little bit Star Fortish,
yeah.
So that's La Perouse, and then across to the east is the two golf courses that you were mentioning in one of your past videos. I think this one here is the Royal one. But
yeah, and then the gun range there too.
Gun range, yes. But even back then, I think it was already developed as a golf course. I'm not sure if
yeah, we should look at the years of when that was developed. But they're probably hiding stuff right there.
That they could be. I mean, what was there before? These buildings are still there. I think this is some sort of hospital. I'm not sure. Yeah, what are they hiding?
That's the jail, isn't it?
No, the jail, Long Bay Jail, is up here. There, that's Long Bay Jail there, right? But Long Bay Jail, interesting because it has a tram line. So Anzac Parade, which is which is the main road to La Perouse Point, basically had a tram line running all the way along the centre of it, and a tram siding went into Long Bay Jail, and you can just see here where the tram actually does it go inside the prison? I'm not sure.
Wow.
So yeah, that's
interesting for that time, right?
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
And you can still see like roughly how the tram would have come in. I think it's just like a road now, but yeah. So they had a tram that went into the jail, just like they had a train line that went into the
Rookwood
Cemetery, which is if someone wants to bring that point up after I finish my 5, I'll gladly go over the Rookwood Cemetery because that's interesting.
Great, that one.
That was on my list, so yes.
Yeah, on your list, no worries. So yeah, just all around where there's already two golf courses there, which are the ones that are there.
Yeah, what is the purpose of two golf courses so close together, guys?
Exactly.
Really?
I mean,
no, makes sense.
And one of them's really small, I think, like only like 9 holes or something. But it's like they just had to put something there, so they decided on a golf course.
And there's also the other one up around Wentworth Avenue as well, which
More
is this
park.
one. No, I think it's actually that was it looks like it was a golf course then too. You can see the greens.
Yeah.
But the airport and there used to be like a suburb at the airport. I can't remember what it was called now.
Karela?
No. Actually a race course as well. I should have looked before. But look at that. That's the runway. Right?
Yeah.
So you've got like a suburb here full of houses,
Right.
and then like this race course, which is right underneath the today's
Gone.
Wow.
That's basically, this is the domestic side, but that's the international airport over here. But just the whole airport in general is interesting to look at and see what was there in 1943. I mean, even the Cooks River has been diverted, so you can see how it's been diverted along here, right? So back in 1943, I did find a series of photographs that go through different decades that show the change of the Cooks River. Yeah, you've got like small little grass runways, and you've got like a aerodrome. I think it was just called Mascot Aerodrome back then. Yeah, so that's basically okay. So the one more thing on the eastern side, Waverley Cemetery. This is Waverley Cemetery, which is absolutely jam-packed in 1943.
Whoa.
Right? So there's not really any room to bury anyone there. I mean, this is it today. But I mean, look at it in 1943. It has not changed at all. And I find this part here, this eye, interesting.
Yes, I was just looking at that. That really stood out.
First thing I thought of when I saw that was...
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow,
but,
yes.
Yes. I don't know.
Yes.
No, I saw that too, yeah.
Yeah, so, all the way up through Tamarama, Bondi is interesting. And then right the way up through along the coast here, up towards Watson's Bay. There's the lighthouses that you did a show on.
Yes.
You can't quite see where the old one was, but the old one was right next to it, wasn't it?
Yep. You can see its footprint a little bit.
Yeah. But not only was there the lighthouse here, you can see there's where are those? There's like, it's quite hard to see on here actually, but there's like some old gun emplacements. Where are they? They might be out here. They are. So here you've got these where some cannons and stuff might have been. Well, we don't actually know what they are. Oh, whoops, I've gone too far. We don't actually know what they are. But yeah, there's all sorts of like a big bunker tunnels and stuff all through there, and then it takes you up to Watson's Bay, which no one can go into because it's a naval base.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's Watson's Bay back in 1943, which is pretty much not really changed except for a few more buildings, I guess. But yeah, it's very much like North Head and around St. Patrick's. There's like stone fences all around the edge of this place as well. And look here, you've got more gun emplacements.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of that lighthouse, but yeah.
The red and white.
The red and white one. That's it. But yeah, all around the coast.
Casey would remember the name of that one.
Everywhere you look along the water, there's like here, there's gun emplacements. There's probably some more here too.
Isn't it? It's interesting because it's like clear engineering on the coastal strips. Like you can just see there's stuff that's happening that's, I think, in kind of an ancient settlement. It's I don't know what else to call it, but
because like Sydney is actually inland from the coast, and you've only got this small gap here to get in the Sydney harbour. So whatever was in here, and if they've got all of these gun emplacements all on North Head, all at Watson's Bay, all on the Middle Head, gun emplacements everywhere, right up to Fort Denison, which is this tiny little island here. I mean, Fort Denison's old, like,
yep,
it could be part of something else as well. But oh yes, another interesting point quickly while I'm in the city is where the Opera House is. So it goes from being Fort Macquarie, which was like, to me, looks like an ancient, like medieval castle, to then being used to store trams. We'll just put a tram shed here, no worries. And then going from that to the Opera House, which is what we have there now, which took, quite a long time to build.
Wow.
So there's the Opera House. And
Wonder what they were hiding there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I don't
and
know.
it could be like energy center as well. Who knows?
But that was where Fort Macquarie was, which is like, yeah. So yeah, okay, so that was La Perouse, eastern suburbs. Anything else in the eastern suburbs that anyone would like to see while I'm sort of over here? Randwick Racecourse, I think, is interesting because that's Centennial Park. No, which is the big park? Yeah, Centennial. That's Centennial Park there with the big loop road around it, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
There's Randwick Racecourse, which has right. So we're the university at is it Kensington?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, and the hospital as well. There's a big hospital there. But yeah, no, Randwick Racecourse is there in 1943. Obviously, oh look at all the army tents in the middle of Randwick Racecourse.
They were getting ready to go, huh?
That's right. This will actually bring me to my next point, which was Warwick Farm Racecourse and Holsworthy Army Barracks, to see what's going on out there in 1943. Obviously, with the war going on or whatever was happening at the time, there was obviously a lot of military activity going on. Where is it? Warwick Farm Racecourse, Bankstown Airport. There it is. So here's Warwick Farm Racecourse. So back in 1943, there was tents everywhere.
Wow.
Look at that. And Warwick Farm Racecourse used to have its own railway siding. I think the railway siding went right up into the 90s or 2000s, to be honest. Yeah. There was a railway siding there. And yeah, you have this massive big platform. Look at the train there lined up. That's a train right there. How many carriages, like passenger carriages, are on it? And not just inside the race course, but below it as well. All of these tents.
Wow.
Which now, when you go to look at it today, which is just an industrial area, just off Governor Macquarie Drive. Wow. Which is the main road through Chipping to takes you to Chipping Norton from Lansvale. Yeah, so that's Warwick Farm Racecourse, and then also the Army Barracks at Holsworthy used to have its own branch railway line, which branched off at Liverpool, and you can see the bridge here at Liverpool, which now is just it's just there. It's just got the
pillars,
pillars, yes, it's just got the pillars. So this railway line branched off and went into Holsworthy. You can follow it all the way along. I'll just zoom out and quickly go there. Where is it? So this is inside the Holsworthy Army Barracks. If I go to today, you'll see what I mean. Like there's the extent of the current. Actually, I mean, not sure I should even be showing this on here or not, but I mean it's on a public website, so I guess why not. But, I've been in this army base myself, so it's a pretty interesting place. But 1943 used to have a train line that went into it all the way. This is basically the old base area here, and it's right on the very edge of the map that they're allowing us to see. So yeah, down here is where the train line stops. I'm not sure if there would be a platform of some kind, I'm not sure, but that's all the Holsworthy. That's all that was at Holsworthy Army Barracks back in 1943. But when you look at it today, I mean, look at these old buildings to the right here. They're just gone. It's bushland.
Yes.
I mean, you can't even see anything in there. And you can only make
camouflage.
Yeah, you can just make out a railway cutting here. You can see the railway cutting in the bush, and you can kind of follow it. But everywhere else, the railway line's basically been decimated. Not much trace of it. You can see there's buildings and also one of the original roads to from Liverpool to Wollongong went down, basically goes right through the middle of the army base, and it's actually called, you can't see the street names on here, but it's called Old Illawarra Road, that runs through the army base. and so I think that's quite interesting as well. So yeah, Holsworthy Army Base and Warwick Farm Racecourse with all of the army tents, I guess you'd say, accommodation or whatever was happening back then, operations and stuff with troops and whatnot. So yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. Now the last interesting place, the last point on here to show you before you have any questions is out at Penrith. So you've got the main West Railway line that goes from Sydney out over the Blue Mountains, and there is a originally on the eastern side of the Blue Mountains there was they built a zigzag railway to get up the escarpment to get up to the top and obviously continue west over the mountains. But part of this zigzag railway is also one on the west side, which is the commonly known one that they call a zigzag railway, which is near Lithgow, Clarence. That's got some impressive stone viaducts on it. But the one on the eastern side at Lapsden, it's called the Lapsden Zigzag near Penrith, is equally, if not more impressive, I think, because it's this is it. Can you guys see this
Wow.
picture?
Yes.
So, I mean, look at the scale and size of this viaduct, and they say it was built in 1867 thereabouts. They don't actually have a date.
And is that still used today, Dan?
No, not at the moment.
Not at all.
It's just sitting there. If I go back to here, so this is a map. How do I zoom in here? Okay, so the Knapsack site of Knapsack. Where is it? So yeah, you've got the old railway, original top wing, 1864. There it is. First Knapsack viaduct, 1860. Well, this map's saying 1864. It goes over the Knapsack Gully, and then so this was used as the first railway over the Blue Mountains until a deviation was built in about 1913, which was the double track train line that goes over the mountains today. It's via the Glenbrook deviation. But the first zigzag, yeah, had this viaduct, and I just think it's a really impressive structure. And they say this is a construction photo of it, right? Which to me shows a structure that's already there with some scaffolding on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
This could also, okay, so it was originally a train viaduct, and then once the railway line was deviated, it became it was abandoned basically for probably nearly 30 years, and then the top of it was widened and used as it was then the Great Western Highway. So that was first a train bridge, then the top was widened to for 2 lanes of traffic. And this picture could be from when it was being renovated. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just shows that it's already there.
Yes. And of course, no workers, typical.
No workers. Well, I mean, not in that photo, no. Yeah, not really. Little hut there, and
yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows you the scale. Like, I just want to see how big it is.
It does.
With the person standing there, they probably look.
I think it's a great place to do a meetup at, because just being there and standing underneath it and just looking at the sheer scale of it. I got a bunch of photos. I went out this morning and took a few photos of it because I just love this bridge or viaduct, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and look where it is.
Look at that. I mean, it's
impressive.
Yep, and it's you can see where it's been widened. It's a perfect example. You can see the concrete top on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was done in about 1920s, and they put this extra stone on it to maybe as a support. I'm not sure what it's doing, but so basically the original width of the viaduct was enough for a single track railway, and then they widened the top of it and put new sides on it, which are very Art Deco looking. Actually, if I go to here, you can that's a view looking out east from it. here. So you've got
Oh.
concrete sides. That's looking over the edge. Oop. So yeah, this is it. Basically, it was used as the Great Western Highway
Right.
from sometime in the 1920s up until sometime in the, I think, the late 80s, when the M4 was then extended from Russell Street, where it used to terminate. So you used to have the M4 motorway that came west out of from Sydney, and you have to go into Russell Street and then onto the old Great Western Highway over this this viaduct. You can see the old faded yellow lines on it.
Mm-hmm.
And these two lines here I find interesting because I think that is where the original walls of when it was the railway viaduct.
Railway,
Yeah.
And I don't know why what it is. Maybe they were starting to crack or something. I don't know, and they had to patch it or something. But so this is the top of it.
Heavy over it, you take it straight through between the lines.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to take any heavy trucks over it now, but I mean, it is a pretty solid looking old viaduct. It's just such an impressive structure, and standing underneath it, looking up, it's insane.
Not like that on the west of Lithgow.
Yeah, well, west of Lithgow.
The one in Lithgow that's still used today. Just west between Lithgow and the jail.
Yes, there is another viaduct out there too. Yeah, part of that old railway out to Bathurst. Yeah.
But it's amazing that we have these kind of old world structures like this.
That's right.
That aren't even used anymore.
Not at all. It's not used.
They're like ruins in a sense, but people can still walk over it, whatnot.
Yeah, it's part of a walking track. You can basically walk the entire zigzag. So you can see the old zigzag here on the 1943. So the train, it's obviously showing that it's the highway here because it's 1943. So after the 1920s, when the Great Western Highway took part of the railway reserve. So, but you can still see remnants of the old zigzag. So the train would come here, then it would change and go up this middle road, and it would get to here, and I think it stops about here. But there's a platform here too, Lucasville Station it was called.
Wow.
And then it continues up the top road here, and you can see it curve around. Basically,
not very efficient, is it, for like going kind of in this pattern to try?
Yeah, it would slow the trip down, but I guess that's the technology I guess they had at the time. But for before this Glenbrook, so this is the Glenbrook deviation. It branches off and goes through the Glenbrook Gorge. Oh, okay, it's cut off, but yeah, it goes around through Glenbrook Gorge there. But then there was also a tunnel built to bypass the zigzag. But they only used it for about 10 years, and it goes into this cutting here next to the highway, and it comes out on this side. And during World War II, it was used to store mustard gas, and there used to be a pretty interesting short documentary about it on YouTube, which it's disappeared off YouTube. But it was there was a documentary called Cities, or can't remember what it was called. Something to do with like tunnels and underground stuff. But yeah, this tunnel featured on that documentary, and it had these guys talking about working in it during obviously this time, 1943, how they used to have to store the mustard gas, and not really many people knew it was there. I mean, there's not really that many houses around it, and if you're driving up the highway at the time, you wouldn't really think to look down or
So what we need here now is that LiDAR imagery, so we can see underground and see the tunnels.
And then you've got that's right. The Glenbrook RAF base is here as well, which is obviously hasn't really changed much.
But a lot more greenery, a lot more forestry added, though.
Yeah.
You know.
So what I was saying,
it looks artificial because it's all lined up straight. That's how you can kind of see the trees are all very straight.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. So the original M4, before the M4 motorway was built, the Great Western Highway used to just go straight through Penrith and straight through Emu Plains and up around here to get up onto the viaduct. But then once the M4 was built, it used to terminate here at Russell Street, and the traffic would go up Russell Street and around here onto the old highway, and go up over the viaduct, and it just.
Old Bathurst Road is now, yeah.
No, it's not Old Bathurst Road, dude. It's no, Old Bathurst Road is like a way older. Here's Old Bathurst Road here, the zigzag. That's a whole another route, but the original Lennox Bridge is in here. This is their old road before it was diverted over the train line, basically. So that was my last point to do with Knapsack Viaduct and Penrith. So yeah, where do you want to go now?
Rookwood.
So, I was just going to say that's pretty far west when you think about like development from 1788 to 1943. Even that's a short time. Like,
yeah,
even just trying to get out there would have been almost impossible. But then there seems to be all these roads, and
roads, yeah, they're
already existing.
They're everywhere. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can follow it from Penrith all the way. Basically, it concentrates along the railway line and the Great Western Highway all the way along. And there's another interesting part too. Where is it? Where are we? St. Mary's.
I think it's amazing, by the way, that you can recognise the suburbs just from this map.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so impressive.
Oh, okay, so you can't see it. But where? Oh no, that's not it. That's another one. Where is it? Oh, here. So where there's a new zoo in Western Sydney at the moment, and it's just off the Great Western Highway, near Arndale Park. But during the war, there was an airstrip here, and you can just see the end of it when you go to. So there was airstrips everywhere, airstrips like this, all around Sydney. But this is where there's actually. This doesn't show the zoo. Oh, there it is. This shows the zoo being built. I zoomed in a bit. So yeah, that's where the new Western Sydney Zoo is. And yeah, there was as I said, there was the airstrip
an airplane strip. Yep.
Yeah. Prospect Reservoir. That's another interesting place. Oh, okay, it doesn't show us much of that. You got all these old quarries around here too, around Prospect. I'll go to Rookwood. Here it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. So this is Rookwood Cemetery.
And do you notice all the golf courses surrounding the cemetery too?
Yes, there is a big one here, another one there around Strathfield.
Don't know why we need so many.
Another one here.
No.
Oh,
It just makes you wonder what's under there that they can't build on top of it, that they make it a golf course rather than building on top of it.
Well, and it's also close to the Chullora Railway workshops, which there's rumoured to be tunnels, all sorts of tunnels and stuff under there. There's rumoured that there's a tunnel from there to the Bankstown bunker.
Yeah.
It's all this crazy stuff. But here's Rookwood in like current time, and if you go to 1943, you'll see how full it is already in 1943.
Wow.
So, and it clearly shows the railway line, which comes off at Lidcombe here and curves around and goes in. And this building here is, I think, is this one or is it the next one?
Is it the train?
The
station. Oh, the church.
Yeah, it's the one that's got moved stone by stone
to Canberra. That's
Canberra.
right.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean it's all here in 43, and the railway line goes all. I think there was about 3 or 4 different stops, and it curves right around and goes all the way up to here. Sort of stops about here. But when you look at like today, it still has like the rough outline of where it went.
Yep.
So I can sort of follow it just by not even looking at it. So yeah, that's Rookwood Cemetery, and there's some really crazy old overgrown parts of the cemetery here, which I find interesting, that this serpent canal flows sort of through. Look at it here. You can see it. And yeah, I mean, it's already looking like it's got old graves in it.
Oh, wow.
Full of old graves in
Yes.
43. So yeah, I think it's interesting how full it is.
Rookwood is a very fascinating place.
Extremely.
It feels like an old town to me, like designed very differently with all the water reservoirs and all the, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it was meant to be a cemetery. It was just,
yeah, interesting. And close by to Rookwood Cemetery as
very
well.
strange.
Yeah, very strange. It is. Close by to Rookwood Cemetery is the old Lidcombe Hospital. So I don't know if any of you would remember the Lidcombe Hospital. It was massive, and now it's just all houses. But back, see, here it is. This is the main part of it. It's quite a big hospital, and yeah, I remember it all being pulled down, and it's virtually just housing in there now. They've still got some of the old buildings, I think. Yeah, these ones, I think. Yeah.
I took lots of machines.
Yeah, you did work in there too, Tim. Yeah, I took a whole bunch of building materials in there when they were building all the houses. So yeah, that's interesting, and it's so close to the cemetery, Rookwood Cemetery as well. So yeah.
So Dan, is this what kind of started you, since you drive a truck, and you too, Tim, having gone to these places delivering materials and whatnot, is that what started your interest? Like, what started all of this? Because this is fascinating to me.
Yeah, my interest in roads and infrastructure has been as long as I can remember. Even on going on car trips as a kid, just looking out the window and seeing an old road go off into the bush, it just fascinated me. I was like, where does that go? I need to know. I got to go. Obviously, I was too young to go exploring them. But now, yeah, you can go and walk off in the bush and see old embankments, cuttings, old pavement to do with old roads and highways, and also train lines as well. So yeah, I'm quite interested in old train lines and old highways, and yeah, just from seeing them out the window in road trips, pretty much. What about you, Tim?
I was the same as well, and Dan obviously grew up in New Zealand, a lot like Tasmania, with its old history, and a lot of mine was running around all the different places down there with my grandfather, and he was very well rehearsed with what all the old structures and buildings were and what they used to be back when he was younger. But he would take me to a lot of the star forts and places in Hobart and looking in, showing me the ammunition dumps were and little places like that. So it's always been really cool for me. But obviously, as we're driving around Sydney and going to different places, I deliver a lot of machines that are building and demolishing different structures, and it's awesome to have a look around. Also, I was based at Holsworthy for a long time.
There you go.
Getting a look in some of the old areas and asking a little bit about the history around the old hospital and places like that in Holsworthy, and we go through the obstacle course and do bits and pieces there, and you can see a lot of the old buildings and that. So it's always interesting to have a look. And now we put another set of glasses on, a different set of eyes, and we look at everything so much different, and it's always interesting to see what we come across.
So, in Hobart, did you think it felt much older than what you've been told? Because a lot of the structures there are very old. They seem older to me. Oh, did Tim freeze?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still. I grew up in Launceston as well, and there's a lot of really, really old churches and old buildings. When I was younger, my parents had a lot to do with the Albert Hall, and I remember like being in there. There's a massive organ in there as well, which is very, very old and had been relocated from somewhere else. But it's always been interesting looking at these sort of places, and now lucky enough to team up with you guys, we can sort of look at different places around where we're going to. But there's a lot more than meets the eye to what we've seen previously when we were younger, and we're starting to dig up some truth with a lot of this stuff. And when you look at things the way we do, you just go, something doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Yep.
Doesn't add up.
A lot of anomalous stuff everywhere you look, and especially like seeing it all so differently now, and looking at the narrative that we're given, and then thinking, maybe not.
Yeah, and we don't know. That's the thing. Like all of us together, and as we're walking around, I remember in Manly, and I think when we were with Tim, the first time we went, and I just remember thinking, we're all just walking around, everybody, like we're obviously looking with a different set of eyes, like Tim said, but everybody else around us are so oblivious. They just don't even realize that there's so much, I would say, another civilization perhaps lived here. We can tell that we've been decimated in some way, like there's ruins, there's just such random stuff. And actually, you know what I did want to look at? I wanted to go look at the Sphinx site. Does it go that far north, Ku-ring-gai National Park?
I was there yesterday.
Yeah, Tim was there yesterday. Yes.
Were you?
I've got to go out and have a look at that place. I haven't been there yet.
Okay.
It's really easily accessible. You just drive right up to it. So
wow.
no hiking, and it's just such a weird place. Like it looks melted to me, but you know,
It's really strange and random, isn't it?
it's a strange place to put something like this. And the reason it was for the World War I, you know, in memory of the fallen soldiers. It's just
how does that relate
out.
to a sphinx? It just doesn't even make sense.
No.
I just tried finding it. I can get to there on like today's 6 maps. There it is. But no, it doesn't go as far north as that. It sort of cuts off. It cuts off. Where is it? Cuts off a fair way back down the Bobbin Head Road.
Okay.
So, and back then it was just farms and orchards and stuff. Like that's another crazy thing. Like this part of is it Tarramurra, Tim? Where it's at? North Tarramurra, where it's at. So basically, this is North Tarramurra, where the Bobbin Head Road comes off the Pacific Highway, which is here, and you've got the North Railway line. So yeah, when you go right up to North Tarramurra, it's just orchards and farms and stuff, I guess. Yeah.
But there's a lot of old world structures there, though, in Tarramurra. Have you noticed that when you drive through?
Yeah.
Like the homes are older. They look different to like traditional homes in Sydney.
Like upper class sort
upper
of
echelon.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of them are being knocked down, and they're putting these 5 and 6, 7, 10-story especially concentrated along the railway line is all of these big apartments and stuff that are just, they're knocking all these massive big old houses down. So yeah,
I actually personally think they can't repair them because they're too they just don't have the ability to bring them back to their original state.
Yep.
A lot of money in those areas too, so when they're bowling the places over, they're there for a profit. Like they want to live in those areas, like Epping. And
imagine just one family living in a house where you can have like 15 apartments with 15 families living. So that's the thing. It's just greed.
And Sydney, I mean, even the newer developments, or not even newer developments, but even Yagoona, for example, which you showed us, wasn't even hardly developed in 1943.
Well,
they're knocking down all those homes and putting duplexes.
They are. They do. And I have to deliver to some of them, and it's not very fun delivering to knockdown rebuild sites.
No.
But but that Yagoona sort of wasn't even until the 60s and 70s, really, that it started to get built out. But all the streets were there. So that was the Sphinx Memorial. You can't see it on this, but there's heaps of the more you look, you can spend absolutely hours looking at this. It's crazy. So another point of interest here is the old suspension bridge at Northbridge, which is a very, very interesting bridge. They built this big grand bridge there with turrets and everything over this this gully, and then
amazing bridge. We, as a child, every time we drove over it, I just loved it. I was just fascinated. It's like a fairy tale bridge driving across there. Yeah,
it really is. So I there's so many places, and then you've got like Castle Craig and Castle Cove are very sort of
in your head.
What's that, Tim?
You see all those sorts of places, like amazing bridges and things like that, when you're younger, and it all sticks in your head. Like I remember Ross Bridge and Richmond Bridge and places like that in Tassie, and they're some of the oldest bridges they're claiming in Australia.
The thing that's right, dude. The thing I find most interesting about this bridge at Northbridge is there's one other one almost identical to it, in maybe a little bit smaller, but it's all the way down in the Kangaroo Valley. It's the same bridge, and afterwards, Jojo, we can put a picture of each one up, and you'll see how similar they are. You can add a picture of each one. It's crazy. They're almost identical. They've both got turrets. So what's the correlation between this area north of the city and a place an hour and a half, 2 hours south of Sydney drive? I find that interesting too.
It makes you wonder.
Up around the top area of like Fitzroy Falls, and just before you drop down, there's like super amazing feeling when you're there. It just feels like something it is really hidden there. There's some like crazy energy there in Bundanoo.
Yep, Moss Vale, Bowral, Mittagong, all those places through there, like
wow.
Yep. And then like they would have been like, to me, the Kangaroo Valley, the road between I think is it between Bowral and Nowra, or Moss Vale and Nowra? I think it's Bowral. So between Bowral and Nowra, you've got the road down through the Kangaroo Valley with the same bridges as this one. What was going on back then where they had to do that?
So Dan, I remember you mentioned something, about the bridges. There's 6 bridges. Is that what you said? There's 6 bridges, and if they all were...
I don't know if you want to go into this.
Oh, sorry. I'm just fascinated because I love bridges as well. Like that's one of my favorite topics.
Were we talking about like the main roads in and out of Sydney, or were we talking about before the Harbour Bridge was built?
Yeah, before the Harbour Bridge was built.
Okay. So before the Harbour Bridge was built, you used to have to go to get from one side of the so from Sydney to North Sydney, like all the northern areas across to Manly and all up around Artarmon. You used to have to go from the city. You used to have to go west over one bridge, Pyrmont Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Then the old Glebe Bridge, which is now the Anzac Bridge, which is right next to it there. You can still see the old Glebe Bridge. That's underneath it. So that's the Glebe Bridge. That's the second one. Then you used to have to go over the Iron Cove Bridge, which is the one between Drummoyne and Balmain, or Roselle.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Birkenhead Point. There was an old power station. And then that's the third bridge. So, and the next bridge was the Gladesville Bridge, which was built in the 1960s, but the original one crossed over here. And this is interesting too. When you go between now and 1943, you've got the current Gladesville Bridge, which, interestingly enough, this Gladesville Bridge and this section of like highway sort of style road is actually part of the original M1, which was planned to go all the way from the CBD right up to the Sydney Newcastle Freeway. So this is the only part of the Sydney Newcastle Freeway between Hornsby and the city that was actually built on its where it was planned to be built. and the Gladesville Bridge and the road through here was part of that.
And when you get to Hunters Hill there, you see how wide the road is.
That's right. That's part of. So yeah, if the Sydney to Newcastle freeway was built how it was planned, this would be part of it. And then there was it goes all the way up through the back of like Fox Valley Drive and all the way to the back of Hornsby. But okay, so that was the Gladesville Bridge, but this is the old Gladesville Bridge. Another interesting point with the old Gladesville Bridge too is a couple of it's quite a long bridge, but sections of it ended up being sold to like shire councils out west. I think somewhere around Parks or Forbes, parts of these old bridges are still in use as bridges out there. So yeah, that's the Gladesville Bridge. That was number 4, I think it was. And then okay, so they didn't have the Tarban Creek Bridge in there yet. So I think they used to have to go up and around. Oh yes, this one. I think that's the Tarban Creek Bridge. So you used to have to go this roundabout way to get from the city all the way out through to, and that was called the Five Bridges route or something like that. But now they've got
old road. Chatswood there.
What's
not Chatswood. St Leonard's, the road that comes through the back at St Leonard's there. Real steep and windy one.
Oh yeah, there's another one. That's right, from Longview Road. Sorry, not Longview, Burns Bay Road. This one here. So you got that's right. It goes up over Tarban Creek and up through it's Burns Bay Road. Yeah, and it brings you. You're right, dude. It brings you to the back of St Leonard's and into Artarmon through Lane Cove. But then I think there's another one through here. Is this the one you're meaning?
I think so, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that goes out. Yeah.
DK through there now. Yeah. It's fairly easy on cameras there.
I think you can drive a truck through there still. I think, but
yeah. That's the one.
That was the five. Yeah. So that was the way you used to have to get from one side, from here to there. You just have to go all the way out here and around before the Harbour Bridge was built, pretty much.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So that just makes you wonder, all those old buildings in Sort of Manly, how did they get them built when they had to travel all that way with all the materials and everything? It just doesn't make sense at all, does it?
Exactly. Like,
Let's go to Manly.
Manly's right here. Look how much of the northern beaches is built out, like in 1943. And I didn't even know. I've driven into Manly heaps of times past where that Delhi Castle was, and I did not even know that those ruins were there. And you blew my mind when we did that walk, because I was just like, "What? How have I not seen that before?" Which is, I think,
my grandparents lived around the street, and I walked past it all the time as a child, and we never saw it. We never even did it.
There's that playing field. So here's up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's along there. Yeah.
The Housing Commission flats.
It's just Housing Commission flats now, but yeah, even in 43 they were already there. They were already
So whatever was there was demolished, and they just
definitely
horrible building there.
I know.
So yeah, you've got Manly.
Is it Sydney Road? I think it's Sydney Road.
Sydney Road, yeah.
Yes, right. Sydney Road, and it's interesting too because when you're coming out of Manly, the road splits in two, and the old tram line used to use the one of these roads. I think this is the tram road because it was probably a better gradient for the trams. And then that was the Sydney Road up here. But then how the trams used to go from Manly down through into the Spit, I found interesting too. Where are we? So the trams come along and they come down, and you can sort of see like a bit of a tram, like a bit of a cutting behind the houses. And the tram, it circles around and comes down all the way down around the side to cross over I don't know if the trams crossed over the old Spit Bridge. I'm not sure. too far.
If only we could teleport to that time.
I know.
But I don't even think that the Spit Bridge gets now. Look at that. So that's not even, that's the old Spit Bridge
Wow.
before the one we have now. And on the southern side of the Spit Bridge, I think it's called Perouse Crescent. The trams used to go south up along here, which I think was like would have been the original road too, because it links back up. It links back up here. So yeah, you've got the bends that go down to the Spit Bridge.
Yeah.
Then you cross over, and then you've got this is all changed in 43, but when you go to the north side, the road just curves straight up, and it's this big climb to get up to the Sydney Road intersection here. But back in 43, you used to have to go. You could either go that way and come into Seaforth, or you could. Yeah, it was all sort of. It wasn't really like a through road back then. But yeah, no, I just find the tram. You can see where the tram went.
I'm surprised just how many tram lines we had.
Oh, there was
They always say Melbourne had all the trams, and
there was so many
Sydney.
in Sydney.
I mean, the fact that we had tram lines in Manly, you even mentioned them out west, like
and
insanity.
Bondi even. You had a tram line that went into Bondi, and you've got even like this old the tram. We used to go under the road, the main road into Bondi, and it used to curve and around onto this is the tram line here, but you can follow pretty much all of the old tram lines on this map too. And you've got all the like the old tram workshops, especially around there's a big set of tram workshops near Randwick Racecourse here. These are all old tram workshops and stuff, which is basically all now just that's a bus depot. So part of it's been reused for a bus depot, which I think is pretty cool. But then so all the old tram depots and all of the railway as well, especially coming in towards where Central is, all the railway workshops through Redfern and Everleigh. Just look at the extent of them. And when you like look today, I mean they're still mostly there. But you've got like where Channel 7 Studios is now. Where is that? All here, all this area. All of that. It's Channel 7. I can't remember what else is there, but I remember when Channel 7 was being built because I took loads of windows in there. But yeah, they've even tried. Where is it? I think it's this building. Sorry, that one, because you can see those squares. They're basically the different studios that they shoot stuff in. But it's just really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just the extent of all the railways. Even back then was just insane.
Massive, huh? Massive. Like Central was huge, and I mean it's still huge today. But
Central was big, yeah. And then I'm not too sure if it shows much of the city circle being built, but you try and find buildings being constructed in this time, and there wasn't really that much going on. As I said, you see that cutting for Cahill Expressway, which was already pre-dug. I don't know. I think that was when the Harbour Bridge was being built. They pre-dug that because they knew that the Cahill Expressway was going to be incorporated into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not really much else building. If you have to really look hard to find stuff like being built. There's the old
so a lot of repurposing, huh?
Yeah, that's the old tin can. Oh, was it called the tin can at Rushcutters Bay or something like that? The old stadium, which has now basically got a road running right, the train line and the road running right through it at Rushcutters Bay.
Wow.
Used to have like boxing matches and stuff there.
Wow.
Like an arena.
Yeah, but it was like corrugated iron and it was called the tin can, something like that. But and then King's Cross and all up through here to Woolloomooloo. Garden Island, that'd be an interesting place to look at. So look how this is Garden Island where the naval base is. Probably another place I shouldn't be talking about on here. But
yes, we want to look at Garden Island.
Look at that. Look at this. It's like that's a big dry dock here.
Yep.
Yeah, big dry dock, and then in 1943 it was in full swing. Like actually, it looks like the dry dock was sort of being constructed there. Maybe.
I can't remember.
Maybe they were building a ship in it. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't have the exact details on it, but it was. I did know what some of the history was, but there is a lot of tunnels, and I think I was talking to you about it the other day.
Yep.
A lot of the guys I work there, and I've worked there a lot myself. There are a lot of tunnels that are just everywhere under there, under the dock, everything. So some are flooded, some are still in use all the time, but
Sydney's got some crazy stuff underground, man.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy stuff underground. Everywhere, all train tunnels and stuff.
So,
that
guys,
go nowhere.
we're about 1 hour and a half in,
Yeah.
guys. Can you believe it?
No, wow.
I could spend forever looking at these maps.
Oh, we could, and it's easy to do. As I said, you just type 6 maps into your search engine. It will come up. You click the terms and conditions, which probably says we shouldn't be doing this. But anyway,
Oh, well.
We'll see how we go.
When
We'll
did
see
that
how
ever
we
stop
go.
us?
here we go. I started in Sydney CBD, and this is where I'll end it. So,
Oh,
yeah.
fantastic, Dan.
Brilliant. Thank
I
you.
think that was so awesome. What do you
Yeah,
reckon,
I
guys?
agree. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Dan.
No
It's
worries
really
at all. Have a look it up yourselves, and anyone watching, just look it up, and yeah, you'll spend hours and hours looking at it, and especially going between nowadays and back then, it's fascinating.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, guys. So anything to add, Tim? What have you got to add?
yeah, a little bit of food for thought, which I was talking to Daniel about yesterday, is like during the war, basically all the men were sent off to war, obviously World War One and World War Two. The way I would look at that is to basically get all the people who knew anything about what was really going on in Australia prior to them going to war, was they were going to die or lose their all that history that may have been already start to be erased, and they can start teaching people new stuff. These maps that we're looking at here, with all the development of the suburbs, who did it all? Like, where are all the machines for it all? Where were the people? Where were the men running the machines? And the infrastructure that's being put in there is absolutely massive, and the planning behind it goes for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
So this stuff would have been planned in the 30s. All this,
We're told the 1930s was the Depression era.
yeah,
And in 1920s, I mean, that's the technology we're told they had then. I mean, to build all this in those times, and then with the war before that and the Second World War, what was really going on?
like I've got no doubt they can do that sort of stuff with dozers and graders, and fairly
Primitive.
Supposedly primitive, yeah. I mean, who knows what technology they had?
there was
yeah.
a lack of machinery. Like they were going around putting cars on blocks and taking vehicles off people, trucks, and all that during the war, so they could use it.
Yeah,
government
melt them down for the steel, yeah.
Yeah.
How was the Harbour Bridge built in the time it was, with the sheer amount of steel used for that?
Exactly.
And you
But
guys
I
know,
didn't-
because you guys deliver stuff, equipment, materials, and you go to the sites, you witness just how much it takes today just to unload trucks, how much it takes to move whatever you're trying to move, anything, right? Windows, lumber,
Like
steel.
the sheer craftsmanship, planning, actually getting tools in the dirt and doing all this was massive. My great-grandfather worked on airstrips all up through Daly Waters, up towards Darwin, all over the place during the war, and they were busy. Like, they had minimal equipment like steamrollers and graders and things like that to be able to build all really, really important aerodromes. And here we look at these maps of Sydney, and it's all laid out ready for a new population of people to migrate to Australia. Like that just doesn't happen and go, oh, hang on, after the war, we're going to have all these misplaced people from European countries from all over the world come here. Let's put some roads in and get ready to build housing for them. That
exactly, the population for the time and the development.
Yeah. Then you've got
So doesn't it feel like there was... Sorry. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
Sorry. You've got your era just after the war where it's populate or perish. You've got your baby boomers sort of era around then where, like, it's repopulate and get in, and like everyone's building cheap houses, all these suburbs, and it was almost like a lot of the areas were specified for certain people, like Italians or Greeks or Hungarians or whatever. Like, and it's still kind of like that in some areas. A lot of those areas are particular to certain groups,
Nationalities based on immigration periods, right? So you think about immigration and how things changed the landscape.
So that's an early form of divide and conquer. Keep everyone separated.
Right.
But here in Sydney and Melbourne, other big cities as well, like where that mixed as a population of people from all different places around the world, like nobody's ever going to know what the real truth is. And even in their own countries, the war, as we see it through our glasses, is just erasing history, going through bells and power stations and sacred technology, the stuff they use to heal people, and then they placed all those people out of those countries and sent them to other countries. So what's the planning behind it is a lot more than what meets the eye for these maps here. That go, oh yeah, they just happen to be building all these houses during the war.
Doesn't add up.
Yeah, that's obviously a big thing planning wise to look at for our discovery side of things, is how far ahead are they planning wars and repopulating areas?
Like resets, right?
Just population numbers throughout the decades go backwards in the populations. It's like, okay, well, the numbers they give us, it's like, does it all make sense?
No, tiny populations developing these huge communities. It's not. It doesn't add up. I mean,
and
why they had the idea of immigration? I mean, that makes sense, but
like, why is inner city Sydney so built up?
These roads already look like they had it already, or it was already there.
Yep, you have all these little terrace houses and stuff. They cram. It's all cramming everyone in, even back then. Cram them in.
Yep.
But there's so much land. Like, if you go west of the Blue Mountains and you drive like 4 or 5, 6 hours out of Sydney, and you just see absolutely nothing for kilometres. Nothing.
And drive up north, same thing.
Yep.
You know, you get past the Central Coast and you keep driving. There's so much land.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And
Yeah. And Lisa, what do you have anything to add?
No, I'm just sitting here just overwhelmed by all of this information. Like, it's just blown my mind seeing these old maps, and it's been wonderful. I don't even know what to add because there's just so much there.
Definitely a lot to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we're going to have to do another meetup soon, guys.
Yeah. I'm happy to show you the Knapsack Viaduct if you want to come out towards Penrith Way, because
for sure.
Sounds good to me.
It's great to see that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that was really fun. This is our very, very, very first new segment, Timeless Truth Seekers Presents. And Dan, you did a fantastic job. I loved this presentation so much. And I think in the future, we're going to have somebody else. I mean, Lisa, Tim, if you guys want to step up and show us something different, we can just focus on one building, even if we really wanted to. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be
so much to talk about.
This is massive. What Dan's
so much
just shown
to talk
us.
about. Yeah.
Huh?
So many different topics we could pick from.
So many. And we can even incorporate it, look back at the maps, and, you know, like, there's just so much we can just tie in together. And that's why we're doing this, right? We're doing this because we want to be able to, all of us are going to bring something new to the table. And that's the best part about this. And
we all have our expertise.
Appreciate you guys. Dan, you're like so good. Like I cannot believe that you would recognize where you are looking at these old maps.
Yeah, just looked at it looked at it enough to know. And I know
So
my way
impressive.
around Sydney pretty well, so yeah.
Okay, so on that note, I just wanted to quickly say that Tartarian Truthers is taking a little break. We're just going to probably take 2 weeks just to regroup. We've had a few technical problems, and I'm just going to maybe do some upgrades to my current, setup. So that's going to take me a little bit of time, but I'm just appreciate everybody's support for with Casey and I. We absolutely love doing what we do. It's hard work. It's bloody hard work, and we really don't get paid very much from YouTube, but that's not what it's about. What it's really about is us exploring together, learning together, trying to get down to the bottom of what's really happened here in Australia. And I can tell you now, we've uncovered so much. This will be episode 30. So in 10 months, we've covered many topics, and we're just going to keep going. We can't stop and if we don't do it, this is the thing, who else will? We don't know. So thank you guys. I love you all. We're on a group chat and we're always sharing information, and it's so great. So thank you. And g'day. Don't forget, we've got our merch store if you'd like to make a purchase. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you so much again, Dan. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Tim.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Tim. See you later. Bye, everyone.
Put a tinfoil hat on your Wi-Fi router so it doesn't cut out so much.
So while that's loading, I was just going to say, did you guys know that it was actually a breach of national security to take aerial photographs of the Australian landscape?
Wow.
No.
I didn't know that.
It was. So you really wonder, why we weren't able to take aerial photographs. I mean, this obviously 1943. If they had a purpose, they were taking the images for, like you said, if something did happen, if Sydney did get attacked, they wanted to have maps to refer back to. But I just always wonder, why did they have to, have a national security? That's huge.
They actually had to say you can't take them. But I mean, who would have had a camera good enough, I guess, in that era to be able to do that anyway, and have access to airplanes? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess that's why they have these official type of photos. But it
Yes.
shows exactly how our Sydney was in 1943, which is what I find most interesting.
Which is very developed considering, right?
Oh yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.